Hello, my friends. Hello, Kashvi. Hello, Bindu. Can you hear me properly? If you can hear me well, can you just type yes in the chat so I know that I'm audible? Hello, Junaid. Okay, great. So I'm audible then. That's fantastic. Thank you for coming here. Anjali is also here. Anjali, I can't hear you. Can you put your audio on, please?
Yes, please. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now very well.
Yes.
And excellent. Welcome, welcome, Anjali. I think there was an internet glitch.
Thanks, Sumit.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the community-based tourism project webinar. And meet Anjali Bhatri, who's been instrumental in pushing this project ahead. Anjali, if I put myself on mute, just say something so that people can figure out if you are audible well. Just say something.
Hi, Mohit. Am I audible? Can you hear me? Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me?
So, yes. So if you can hear Anjali well, please put yes in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, thank you, Mahadevanji, thank you, Naushad, thank you, Parminder, Mahendraji, Sharmilaji, great to see all of you. Thank you for being here. Friends, this is one project which is at Kaladungi. And Kaladungi is right at the base of Nainital. When you start your ascent towards Nainital, it's the last village in the plains. And it's a most beautiful village because the traditional farming still happens here. There are homestays built by the community. It's a community tourism project. If this community tourism project had not started about, I think 15 years ago, if I'm not wrong,
Yes,
Anjali?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Then the youth, the lads would have run away to places like Delhi, and this place would have been ruined. So it's a great stopover and also a great destination itself if you're heading towards Corbett Park and also towards Nainital. Anjali is going to talk to you all about it. It's a magical place. If some of you have been to Corbett Park and you've been to Kaladungi to see Corbett's museum, the entire project is right next to it. It's like a 5-minute walk from there. And Anjali will tell you more about it. I've been involved with the project for some time, and I am absolutely, wonderstruck with the kind of work that they've done. So I'm going to first introduce Anjali and then introduce myself to you, and then Anjali will talk to you about different things about the project. Anjali, can you just mute yourself for a minute? Thank you. So over the last 25 years, Anjali has worked to involve and initiate dialogues between communities in environment conservation and management of cultural heritage through outreach programs, publications, talks, training, capacity building, etc. She has partnered with conservation organizations, government and NGOs during the course of her work. She specializes in interpretation and has worked on natural and cultural heritage projects, including the World Heritage Site of Nalanda. That's wonderful, Anjali. An author and a curator, she's committed to generate awareness on conservation and protection of heritage. Currently, she's pursuing her PhD. So that was a bit about Anjali, but there's a lot more that you will know when she starts to talk to you. And a bit about me, especially for those who don't know me and know here for the first time. I am Mohit Agarwal. I'm an experiential ecotourism specialist with a deep love for nature. I help people travel to some wonderful places in Asia. I'm on the board of Asian Ecotourism Network, and I've been trained and certified by GSTC in sustainable tourism. I'm the founder of Asian Adventures, a 27-year-old travel company It is also the largest bird-watching tour company of India. I'm also the founder of NetiNeta, a value email marketing company that is now working towards strengthening communities and wildlife outfits. The company is on a large mission to help Asian elephants with their corridors, free the Himalayas of plastic waste, help small wildlife NGOs, and also conserve the ancient Himalayan temples. So this was a bit about me, and I'm going to let Anjali take over now. Over to you, Anjali. Show your magic. Go right ahead.
Thanks so much, Mohit. I'll start my presentation now. Is it visible?
No, not yet, Anjali. Do you want me to start it for you?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes, now it is.
Yes. So I thought instead of talking to you just about the village and the work that we are doing, I thought I'll take a walk through to the heritage sites of to the heritage community or the heritage village of Jim Corbett. So I present on behalf of my colleagues at Choti Halwani, Mohan and Inder, who will be present during the presentation. My association with them is from around 2000 now, and that's a long association. We started with the program, we started training, we started several other activities, and since then it's been a journey of ups and downs, but enjoyable nevertheless. So to talk of Jim Corbett, who most of you would be familiar, Jim Corbett was a person we know as somebody who has been accredited with killing man-eaters, but there was definitely more to him than just man-eaters. He was very much Indian. He was born in Nainital. He had a big family to support. He was living in Nainital with his mother. His father passed off when he was very young, so between him and his mother, they were supporting a big family. He had to go, and that's how he got introduced to the jungles, living in Kaladungi and Nainital. They lived in Kaladungi when they were in summers, and for winters they came down to opposite. In summers they went up to Nainital, and winters they came down to Kaladungi. But for most part of his life, 22 years, Jim lived in Bihar, and that's where he spent a lot of time interacting with people, being close to people, seeing their struggles. And he was there also. He was in charge of the clearing of the forest. So there's a picture where you see that they are crossing a river. So his man-eater trails are all over. He's written books. They are well documented. So that's knowing Jim and his association with the jungle, which started at a very young age, say at the age of 9, when he is also, along with his mentor, his brother Tom, and people from the village Kunwar Singh, have managed to kill a leopard. As he grew up into the forest, he was also interacting with like-minded people who were also policymakers. He was very close to the Viceroy of the country, Lord Lilithgow, and after him, Lord Wavell. He was also very close to Champion, who was a forest officer during that time, well known for his photography. The governor of the United Province, Henry Ramsay, was very close to him. So these were people who were visiting Africa, looking at wildlife, understanding the forest, appreciating the forest, and also wanted to start a similar movement because they were also aware of the fact that tiger and other sport hunting, which was going very prominently at that time, was taking its toll on wildlife. And the famous quote of Jim, where he predicts that there are brainstorming amongst them and talk of having a wildlife reserve. led to the formation of Corbett National Park. However, it was not the first initiative. They first started with Nainital. A bird sanctuary in the municipal limits was established, and subsequently Corbett National Park was formed. As I said, Jim lived in Kaladungi, so that's the first picture is of his museum, of his house in Kaladungi, which was later, once he left India in 48, it was turned into a museum. There is Arundale, which in the extreme left, that's where he spent most of his childhood, and the area behind him, which he calls the farmyard, is where he learned the skills of the jungle. He knew the jungle like the back of his palm, while even lying at Arundale in his room, he could make out the jungle movements which were happening. Gurney House in Nainital, the extreme right picture, is where he lived in Nainital with his mother. The house is still very much there, much preserved as a museum with all his belongings still, which he left behind when he went off to Kenya, well preserved. It's a private property now. And most interesting is the extreme left picture, which is of Jim Corbett's house in Bihar, in Mukama Ghat. And I happened to go there, and it was really strange that nobody really knew Jim Corbett. But this house and a big signboard saying Jim Corbett was there. And because I had read his account, so I could identify what he meant by the tramway coming in and collecting wood and the felling happening across the Ganga and transporting of timber. But it was really amazing, like this was in 2018 or 19, it wasn't way back, that this house is still there, and people still know Jim Corbett. In fact, even the school that he built with his eye, Ramsaran, is still there. So after this, after lobbying for the park, or lobbying for an area which could be first national park of the country, Haley National Park was formed in 35 with an area of 335 square kilometer. Now, of course, it has grown to close to 1200 square kilometer. The name was subsequently changed to Ram Ganga after independence. But again, on the insistence of G.V. Pant, it was named Corbett National Park as a tribute to him. It's interesting to see the letters he wrote to Maggie, because Corbett had died by then, on that they were changing and they were naming the national park for which Corbett was involved in demarcating the boundary. Those who have been to Corbett will agree that, of course, it is a very fascinating landscape with the Ram Ganga flowing through, and the Shivaliks behind, and grasslands and jaws, and not least to say about the tiger, which of course is found in the highest density per square kilometer anywhere in the world. So the village of Choti Halwani, Jim Corbett was living in Kaladungi in the house which you saw, which was a museum. And just adjacent to that, he bought 2,100 acres of land in 1915, where he wanted to settle his people who were associated with him. He was very close or very affectionate to the people of India, and especially Kumaon, where he lived. So he wanted to settle them and build it as a model village. So he got coffee beans from Africa to try and experiment if they could grow coffee. He got hybrid corn, he got hybrid banana, and he wanted them to be very self-sustaining, and he wanted it to be as a model village. So that is the say a bottom line that we also try and follow, that we want this village to be a model village which could be replicated elsewhere, and which we have many more Choti Halwanis in Uttarakhand. So it all began in 2000. So my association is like 20 years now, where I was working on Corbett National Park, but I also had to come to Corbett house, and because all his writings, and when you know about Corbett, his all writings are about Kaladungi, his writing about Nainital, his biographies talk a lot about his association with these places. So when I came to Kaladungi, it was very intimidating to see people there who were so overwhelmed that somebody has finally come to establish his connection with Corbett, his association with Corbett, and they took me to all the places which were associated. So this person you see has been associated with Cobbett when as a child. So his father was there as one of his close eye. So now we go on to the legacy that Jim Cobbett had established.
There's a window on the screen. Close it.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you need to close that because people are saying that there is some sort of.
Okay, I can't see it on my screen.
Okay, it's coming on everybody's screen. So apparently there is. So friends, just ignore it and continue to watch because luckily all the slides all the photos are on the left hand side, and then that notification is on the right hand side of the screen. So let it continue. I think it probably could be because of the system that we're using, Webinar Jam. And I know you can't see, Ashoka, I know that you can't see the titles, but unfortunately there is some notification from Google that's coming in. So carry on.
Has it gone now? So has it gone now?
I don't have it on my screen, so I don't know. I'm just looking at people's
phones
here.
I'll continue. What you're saying is right. The photographs are all on the left, so you should be able to see it. So we go on to Jim's legacy on what he left back in Choti Halwani. So this is a house he built for one of his eyed Moti house, as it is called, and he found in his books My India and other biographies on him. So as you can see in this image, it's a house with windows. It's got a high plinth and it's got a separate kitchen. It's got a separate bathroom. So he tried to build in some kind of a feel of a greater living space than what the community was used to living at that moment. He also built
Anjali, just a minute. Can you log back in from a different browser if you've got Edge or Safari in your computer?
No,
because you don't have Internet Explorer.
Yeah, I'm doing it through Chrome. So you want me to log in through Internet Explorer?
Yeah, so copy that link and then open in Internet Explorer and come back in.
Achha, just give me a moment.
Yes. So friends, please hold on to this. Don't go away. So we'll just stop the slides presentation here. And you can log off, Anjali, and log back in. Apologies, friends. There are these things that are beyond our control. Technically, we might be very savvy, but we have no control over these things. And this is the first time anything like this has happened in the last 6 months. So, sincere apologies. And I must tell you that, she's going to tell you about the entire story and how it's going to happen and, what the community is going to do and all of that. But my experiences here have been very different, because of the fact that every month you go, the terrain, the colors change. Right now they've got mulberries, then they'll have different flowers coming up. Then right now mangoes. This is also a great mango belt, And if you want organic mangoes, best langda you get here. Mohan and Inder will be able to tell you that. Okay, Anjali, welcome back. Great, thank you. Go on.
Okay. So there's nothing on the screen now. You can hear me, see me.
Don't worry about it. Just go right ahead. Yeah.
It is still there.
Okay. Okay, but it's not showing anywhere on the screen, so I can't help it. Okay, so he also built a chopal where he where he wanted people to sit and talk amongst themselves, and also use it as a guard post at night to ward off animals. He gave them a gun, which is in the possession of the family which lives close to the Chopal, and they proudly display it. So the model here that we work on is that these are the structures which we were identified during the course of research and as an evolution to the Jim Cobbert's village and a part of the heritage walk. So whenever we have a visitor who goes around the village looking at these structures, whatever income comes, the model works in a way that it is shared with everybody. So everybody participates, everybody feels a part. So we're not talking of a particular hotel or a resort or a property. Here we're talking of a village which is spread over 21 acres, 100 acres. So this was a gun which was presented to Jim Corbett after he killed the man-eating tigress of Champawat. It is now with the Rigby and Company in London, and they thought that it would be a good idea to bring it back and show it to his village. So it came around the I think 217 or 18. It came back to the village, and the villagers were very proud to see the gun, hold the gun. It also went to Cobbett Park, and there were huge lineups at Ramnagar to see the gun which Cobbett has used. So to irrigate his village, because irrigation remains the main activity of the community, there are water channels which are brought into the village from the Bor Canal, which are used for irrigating land. And this was the canal was built by Ramsay. We'll come to the canal. And this was another foresight which Jim Corbett had, that water will be so important for the village. So these waterways were very important. So we have around 65 types of crops growing on, and every season you go to Choti Halwani, it's very different. This green will turn into gold. A lot of times you'll have different trees. If you see the trees line up there, flowering in summers, and in winters it will be a different field. Similarly, the bird life also is going to be different in summers, and so the village itself is an ecosystem which is supporting a huge biodiversity. So there's a 9-kilometer wall which Cobbett built around the village. We built elephant protection walls, and we are building all kinds of barricades to ward off animals from coming into the village. So this wall was built around the 1930s. It is still there. It had lime kilns around it where they could bake lime and use it to plaster the wall. No wonder it's still strong. It has broken at a couple of places, but it's still there. And the interesting part is that the wall is not really protecting the village, because animals can cross this wall. But we've never had any incident of conflicts. And even crop raiding by wild boar or cheetahs, which may come into the village, has never been an eyesore or a point of contention with the village. There's never been an incident where we've gone into compensations and a very antagonistic feeling against wildlife. It's a kind of a plateau between two seasonal streams. So animals are bound to cross over to this island when the river is when the water is less. But there has been no incidents of conflict or hunting or shooting which has happened in the village. So from Choti Halwani we moved to Kaladungi, which is like 500 meters away, very close to the river and the Bor Canal. Kaladungi has these three beautiful structures, which is the iron foundry, open cast iron foundry, where stone, Kaladungi, the word itself means stone which had iron, so that stone was melted and wood was used from the forest. It was stopped by Ramsay when he was commissioner. Ramsay, as most would know, was commissioner. He was called King of Kumaon, and he was there for 44 years of his service in Kumaon, and a lot of towns of Tanakpur, Ramnagar are attributed to him. So he planned this whole system, this system of network of canals, and he was also involved with forest conservation. These foundries were stopped because they were using a lot of wood. But nevertheless, the structures here and in Khurpatal remain. You see a small picture of a dandi. This is the dandi which was used by people to go up, by old and maybe children and women, to go up to from Kaladungi to Nainital, as the road at that time did not exist. Corbett, of course, used to walk up and down this trail. It's a very beautiful trail to Nainital, and it's for his municipal meetings. He was on a board for several of these committees in Nainital. This is the Bor Canal I was talking about, and at the end you can see Mohan Pandey, the secretary of the Corbett Gram Vikas Samiti, and the oldest member and a very good bird watcher who's guiding these children, and he's been with the Samiti ever since its inception. He did the first guide training program with me, and ever since he's been there. So this is a canal which is very, very fascinating. It runs from the head of the Bor River, which is where Jim Corbett also set up his jungle studio, where he called 7 tigers. Out of them, one was an albino. And incidentally, we have those films with us, the black and white films with Corbett made. So with Choti Halwani, it's not been a one-day process, or where we had a business plan ready and we said, okay, here we are good to go and we will start this program here. It was a process of evolution, a lot of thinking, consultations, talking went into it. And finally in 2002, the community was ready to form a society. And to start with, we did a nature guide training program and trained guides as bird watchers. Eventually, it went on to developing trails, developing heritage trails, nature trails. So this is Corbett Fall, again, trail which was developed from Choti Halwani to Corbett Park, because people wanted to explore more than just the village. And this is in Ramnagar Forest Division, just close to the Corbett Park. So we have everything that the park has. And every time that I have gone into walking on these trails, bug marks or sightings of elephants and deers has always been there, and not to mention the bird species that are found. So we went on to once we had the trails developed and the day visits were on, there were demands for homestays. So none of this was the first homestay that we operated from. It was a homestay owned by one of the nature guides, who of course is a very very good bird watcher, and he lives in the village. So homestays are a mix of cement and concrete buildings, and also mud huts, which are also prominent there. So here you actually live with the community. It's not that you have an independent place with you. It's just that you are a part of the family, and you here are experiencing the whole village, not just a homestay, which will give you very basic facilities, but the rustic charm of a village life. So along with homestays, nature guides, we also developed a souvenir shop. This was at the museum, which was given to Moti, another aide of Jim Corbett, to run a tea vendor to fend for himself. So this was developed into a souvenir shop, and it's doing pretty well. And it also gives a platform for the village to identify themselves with the museum where Jim Corbett lived. We have a whole lot of farm products, honey, pulses, plus anything that grows in the village, which the villagers are happy to share with people who come to the village. It's not about so much of income generation, but it's about a little bit of Choti Halwani, which they take with them when they visit the souvenir shop, or they come to the museum, or they visit Choti Halwani. We also have an artist with us who we've encouraged, and he paints very beautifully bird pictures. He paints on stones, and he now has an art gallery, which is a part of our heritage walk that we do in the village. The community has been involved in the process of the formation of the society at all stages, be it the young, be it the old people who've been associated with Jim Corbett, or the women. And we've also gone a little further in training other communities around us, say Pavalgarh or one community in Bageshwar. They came down to understand what community-based tourism means. This second slide is again where Mohan is taking a session for this. This was a group which came down from Bageshwar. It was an all women's group, and they only knew Kumaoni. So though we were there as facilitators, but everything had to be communicated to them in Kumaoni. And these were women who were wanting to start homestays and things like that in their village. So it was very interesting, and their questions were very interesting. Their learnings were very interesting. So when we talk of being inclusive, we partner with a lot of agencies, we partner with NGOs, we partner with travel and tour operators, we partner with schools, school principals, and we partner with anybody who wants to have a good association, who believes in what we stand for. The left slide on the on the bottom left is where you see Mohanji. He's been one of the oldest members of the community, and he was the one who used to actually take me around to show me all these sites in Choti Halwani. He's still associated with us, so he's become old now, and he interacts a lot with children. Children, of course, remain our stronghold. We have involved them in several activities, in theatre, in reading stories, in enacting stories, in dance. And one program which I really would like to talk of is the training we gave them on shadow puppetry, which was a huge success. We had an organization come down and train them in making shadow puppets. They engaged them in in remembering Corbett stories, forming puppets, and then making slideshows out of the shadow puppets. So this was a very interesting event which the children loved doing. And we went on to developing stories on fire, which was later taken to the ranges in Ramnagar Forest Division, where we talked of fire protection. Women have been involved in self-help groups, in cultural activities, achar making, tie and dye. So this has been a journey of some successes. Some like tie and dye was not really a success, and maybe because it was not an indigenous class. But achar and all that has been a huge success, and even tea for that matter. Woolen clothes are a huge hit what women make. So this has also been a journey for them. They whatever they make, they try it out at the shop. If it sells well, they make more. If it doesn't, they think of improvising and making something else. So, but their association with us continues, even if it means if we have a big group of children coming, and it means cooking. So all the cooking is done by the self-help group of women, where they get together and do a kind of a community cooking for a big group. So the Kumaoni folk dance is very popular, and a lot of women wanted to perform. So we have 2 self-help groups for women in various age segments who talk of. We are also thinking of documenting these songs which they perform while dancing. Outreach is very important for us. We had Tom Walter coming to our village very often. He would do book readings with the children, and he also trained them into theatre. We did a couple of shows at Gurney House also, and of course at the at Dikala at Corbett Tiger Reserve. We have distributed and planted some 5,000 odd saplings of fruit and fodder trees. This has had a huge impact. People have stopped going into the jungles for fodder especially, and that we have encouraged them to grow it on the embankments of the field. So that has stopped them from going into their taking the cattle into the field. So this has been a huge success. A lot of other conservation activities have also been there. The committee also channelized their energies to stop a project on the Bor River for mining. So our services now include, we have trained guides, we have homestays, we offer village experiences, we offer various trails. We also have heritage, what we call as heritage on wheels, where we take our tourists around the village on cycles. And we also experiment a lot with local cuisine. So when we talk of food, we talk of Itusa, and that's a name given by Mohit. He thought appropriate to call it Itusa because it's a very small establishment, but very, very important, because here this is a common dining area. As I said, that this was a journey of growth all along. So when we established the homestays, it was realized it was getting difficult for women to manage the household chores plus agriculture activities and cook for tourists. So the concept of a common dining area came in, where people would take turns to come and cook. Eventually, we went on to hiring people, and then the village self-help groups coming in. So this has become a place. It is now recognized as a common dining place, but it is also a meeting place, a training place, and it's a common area which is used for all activities, including slideshows and film shows in the evenings, or meetings of our children's nature club. It's a very typical Kumaoni village with all kinds of farming activities going on, of threshing of wheat, sowing of wheat, and then other crops that we grow these days. Lychee and mango is in full swing. So if you call now, they will say now we are busy with lychee tod rahe hain and all that. So it's like any other village which goes through these several activities. We engage a lot with visitors, and that's how the itinerary is full of so many activities which is purely experiential. Here, of course, they are sowing paddy and making rangoli on bags. We got these bags stitched by the women self-help groups, and we've got this training group to make these alpanas, which is made on doorsteps on bags. So this was then carried back through by the villagers. A visitor for us is not a village, is not just a tourist. He becomes a stakeholder. He participates in all our activities. He sees the village life through and through, and experiences what we go through every day. So, like when I said that we involve a lot of people, so this is this is a chef from one of the hospitality institute who come to us often for day visits. So we requested them to give a kind of a one-day workshop for our tourists and also for the community on how to improvise on local foods that can be made. So he made idlis out of madwa, and he used the same ingredients which we use for chutney for so many other things. So this was again a very good experience, not only for the tourists but also for the visitors and for our people who are cooking at our own restaurant. We build in lifelong experiences. These are activities which you can come and experience only in a village. Go down to the river, experience the water, or get down to doing agriculture activities. So that's how you remember a village, and especially children, they have a lot of fun here. As Mohit mentioned, it's on the way to Cobbett Park. So the experiences you get in Cobbett Park are different, and the experiences you will get at Cobbett's village are very different. So Cobbett's legacy goes on. We celebrated 100 years in 1915 of Choti Halwani. Before that, in 1975 in Nainital, his well-wishers celebrated 100 years of Cobbett, where they released a souvenir, and there were stamps were also released. And in 100 years, for 100 years of Choti Halwani, we had a celebration in the village. We had guests who were living with us. We had several activities, and one big activities was felicitating our war widows and veterans who we had in the village. And to our surprise, when we did a count, we were amazed that we had so many veterans and war widows living with us. So the Kumaon Regiment Center was kind enough to come and facilitate these people. We do a lot of promotion. We've got our own websites. We connect with people, like-minded people at Cobbett. We have some hotels and resorts who do send in guides who have built in their itineraries, Choti Halwani as a part of their itineraries. WTI has been with us, and we've done a project on elephant corridors. With WWF, we've done several training programs for women groups. We also partner with Make My Trip, BNB. We have our own Facebook page. This is the governor of Uttarakhand, Margaret Elva, former governor. She had come to visit Choti Halwani. We have the guided trail in Choti Halwani is very well interpreted. We have brochures, we have maps, we have a book, Walking the Heritage of Corbett. There are film shows which are regularly done. So we take interpretation very seriously, because that is the main takeaway when the villagers come. They need to understand the concept behind Choti Halwani, the legacy of Jim Corbett, the essence of conservation that we have built into every small activity that we do. So how would have Jim liked Choti Halwani to be? He would have liked it to be a sustainable livelihood village. We do organic farming. We have partnered with the Organic Board of Uttarakhand. We have certain farmers who are practicing organic farming for a couple of years now. We don't have wildlife conflicts. We are looking at entrepreneurship development, and we are also looking at conservation of species, since there are no conflicts, and educating the next generation, making them more sensitive towards environment when it comes to elephant corridors, etc. People come to Choti Halwani, they stay for a long time, they write very nice things about us, and especially about our people, our guides, our people whom they've been interacted, and the activities that they do. And that, of course, encourages us to do more. There are challenges. As Jim Corbett had said, the tiger is a large-hearted gentleman with boundless courage, and that when he is exterminated, as exterminated he will be, unless public opinion rallies to his support, India will be poorer by having lost the finest of her fauna. So this, of course, remains a very big challenge, and tiger being the top of the food chain, is at least in this area is being looked after very well. So apart from the main flagship species, there are other species also which we try. Even small things like small lesser known fauna is also a very important thing. So these are challenges. Like you see from this picture, it's a very clear picture of the mountains, which is not very visible during non-COVID days. There are more buildings which have come up. People have built double-story houses. So the view, of course, is very different from what you see in this village now. And we cannot stop it, because that's a course of development. And though we try very hard to look into issues of having sustainable houses, looking into a good architecture model of building houses which can be more appealing than concrete structures. Like even this house where you see, there's a small structure which has come alongside, because they are two brothers and they need more space to live. So somewhere you have to compromise that the main structure is intact, but you also have a similar structure, which is, in this case, ideally it could have been a little away, but here it is just adjacent to this structure. So these are the few challenges that we do face in the village. But nevertheless, there are a lot of talking and consultations which happen in the village, which makes it sustainable, and that's the reason to which I attribute a lot of why the village has continued for so long, and continues to do so. Thank you very much.
So that was a brilliant presentation, Anjali. Can I stop your slideshow? I want to just post the links that you have given us,
yes,
so that people can click those links and they can make use of the information that you're sharing with them. So I think there's an echo in my sound system.
Echo.
Echo, right?
So now it's clear.
I think now it's clear. Right. So friends, it's been a fantastic journey. I've been involved with supporting Itusa restaurant for 2 years, almost 2 years, when Mr. Rajiv Bhartri asked me to step in at that point of time. It was a beautiful experience to work with the people of Kaladungi to take the work further. And then WTI stepped in because they were looking at partners to monitor elephant movement and to look at the corridors. So CGBS has been involved in conservation projects very actively. So it's not just the tourism, it's not just sustainability, it's not only going eco-friendly, it's also adding value to conservation world. And that is their real contribution. That's been a fantastic contribution so far. Anjali, we've got friends here who are asking you some questions. May I ask you a question if you can answer?
Yes, please.
Okay. So Sapna is asking, do you encourage solo travelers? So, and what are the rate for the homestay, right time to come there, and festivals during which one should visit? Sort of information.
Yes, we encourage solo travelers. We are very safe. We have homestays which are run by women in case women solo travelers want to come and they want to stay in a homestay run by a lady. So that is possible. And for your rates and stuff like that, you can always DM me or you can send a mail to us. We'll get back to you on that.
Lovely. Vishesh PV is asking how many birds are found in the park. So it's a very large range, Vishesh. So it'll be difficult to say how many birds are found in Kaladungi itself. I don't know if they have a checklist, but I'll tell you, this entire region of Corbett supports over 600 species of birds. So if you really want a checklist, I think it'll be best that you go on to eBird and download the checklist for the birds seen so far for Kaladungi. Or if you write to me, I can help you with that. That's no problem. Naushad is asking that he's working on a similar project in Northeast India, and he needs cooperation and guidance. So Anjali, you will be the right person to get connected. If you have a minute, can you just put your email ID in the chat box so people can then get in touch with you directly?
Yeah, sure. I'll just type that in. And we'll be very happy to help you, Naushad. And once the pandemic and all eases, you may like to visit us and see things for yourself on ground. And in the past also, for one of our trainings, we had one person from Assam, and he said that he gained meaningfully and he wanted to set up similar projects back in Assam.
Lovely. And Rushali is asking, how can one become a part of this project? Well, just be involved with them, I guess. Unless you've got, do you have a system? Do you have a plan, Anjali, that where people can join in?
Yes, yes, she can write to me. We are looking for people in helping us for specific areas. In case you can intern with us, we are looking for people who can help us with social media and stuff like that. So, and there's always a possibility of involving people. We like to associate with a lot of people.
That's so beautiful. Hi, are you involved with upkeep of Corbett Museum? Mr. Sidhu is asking.
I don't know the upkeep of Corbett Museum because I was involved with the research. So a lot of my research has been used in the museum. In fact, recently I've done a virtual exhibition, and I'll request you, Mohit, to put the link online so you can have a look at the virtual exhibition of the museum. But I'm not really involved with the upkeep of the museum because that comes under the Corbett Tiger Reserve.
Okay. Do you want to quickly tell them about the book that you just brought out?
On Corbett Tiger Reserve?
Yeah, just show it here right now, no? Just take it out. Yeah. It'll be interesting for people to see what the book is like.
Yes, I'll show you. I'll also show you the book Walking with Corbett, which should be lying around. So that's a little book I have on Jim Corbett, which was done again. Walking with it's not on the table. On the heritage sites of Jim Corbett in Kaladungi and Nainital. So this was bought out in 2001. So it's all there on Amazon. It's a very small book, so maybe, but it's very interesting to read. So that's one you can buy, and this one is a bulky one. This is on the Corbett Tiger Reserve, and this.
So friends, you got to buy this. Just go on to Amazon and and buy it, because then it sort of completes your experience. Yeah. So Anurag is asking, village tourism, local culture tours, did villagers ever feel uncomfortable in these activities? Because sometimes people may feel like their lives are being put on display to outsiders.
Yes, then that's where when I talked of the visitor management slide, we are very careful on that, because you are not visiting a particular property, you are visiting a village. So we are very, very careful on how we handle visitors, what are the kind of visitors. We are absolutely no to those New Year visitors who come just for a night stay and then go back, because people do object, and we are very careful that we do not encourage these kind of activities, especially around New Year's time. So we are very mindful of that, and of people not intruding into the lives of villagers.
Excellent. Oh, excellent. Mr. Sidhu is, he recently published a book on Jim Corbett and would like to talk about it. Absolutely, Mr. Sidhu. We will have a little chat. I'm going to just put down my number here. You can message me and then we can fix a time to talk about your book. That's fantastic. Absolutely lovely.
Yes, and I would also like to hear from her.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the beauty of Jim Corbett. Sorry, I'm intruding, Mohit.
No, not at all.
His books have never gone out of print since the day they were published. They've been translated into more than 27 languages. He has 4 biographies. There are 4 or 5 films on him, and there's people still writing on Jim Corbett. And today also, and I'm sure you'll agree, if there's a group, and even on the website, if you see, there are Jim Corbett Heritage, there's Jim Corbett, conservation. There are enough, groups on Jim Corbett itself. So he never goes out of fashion. So it's always good to write about him.
Yeah, these are stories which can never go out of fashion, and these are the stories that encourage you to go back to the wild and then appreciate nature the way he did. And when you go to Rudraprayag or you go to any of these places, Champawat, you'll still see those boards. This is where Corbett killed a man-eater. This is what it. So it transports you into a dream journey, and you start to imagine how it would be. To find a leopard right by you. So friends, tomorrow we've got a similar presentation happening by Kilmoda, and Kilmoda is a social enterprise working with the village folk for a long time, for their sustainability. So they bring out fantastic products like textiles and loom stuff, and then also lots of chutneys and jams. So here is the link which I'm posting. Go ahead and register for tomorrow's webinar, because you'd find that very interesting. So right from Terai, so Corbett, Terai, and then now we're going to take you to Mukteshwar tomorrow, into the hills. Yeah, especially for those people who haven't been able to move out of Delhi's
heat. Houses, yes.
yes. And if you've got more questions to ask, feel free to write to Anjali directly, and she'd be happy to present and interact with community-based tourism. The term is called CBT. If you go onto UNWTO website and you just write CBT, you will know a lot about community-based tourism. It's a different arena altogether, different realm of tourism, which has been there for years in India, but there's no framework to it yet. So, so people did bring out the framework, but it is in short supply. So go ahead and enjoy CBTs across India and other parts of Southeast Asia, where CBT has taken a different turn altogether. They've become very robust in terms of their framework, in terms of their delivery patterns, in terms of churning out masters of CBT. And in India, we already are there, So, and the closest to your house in Delhi is CGVS, Kaladungi, and you got to go there, right? So it's basic, very nice, beautiful. More than that, it's the experiences. Go and eat those organic Langda mangoes or enjoy the lychees. And if you had gone there last month or month before that, it was just full of mulberries. So, and then they will take you on these trails to show you the old places strewn about, and that Chudail Wala Ped, where the brown wood owl would sit and shriek, and people used to think, oh, there's a Chudail, there's a Chudail up on the tree, but actually it's a brown wood owl calling in the middle of the night. So they'll give you all the stories. They'll make you walk along the Gool, which is which is a little stream, which is an irrigation canal, and also there are tigers lurking around. Also there are elephants, wild elephants, but these people know, they can smell them from far. So you're in safe hands. Take your children, take your family, and you'll be very happy because you get real authentic Omani khana. The meals are fantastic, straight out of the farm. They're farm fresh. You're not going to have, if you want Maggie, you will get Maggie, but you're not going to get pizzas and burgers and all the processed food, so you come back healthy.
So looking forward to seeing some of you once the pandemic lifts, and I'm sure it's going to be a good experience. And anybody from the communities want to connect with us, we'll be happy to have a training program with you. Not an issue at all. Just connect with us. Thanks, Mohit, for giving this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here to listen to Anjali, and that adds a lot of power to the community's work and her work. So kudos to you, Anjali, for organizing this webinar with us. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for spending a precious 1 hour with us to know more about this. I hope you would be the emissaries for this project, and look forward to hearing more from you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Shabba khair, good night, have fun, enjoy your beer or enjoy your yoga, whatever else that evening has to offer you. Good night, bye-bye.
Thank you,
Anjali. Bye-bye.